I'm restarting the recording so I can get my session started. Not started, but so I know where to cut it when I splice it to cut out all this extra at the beginning of my presentation. Got about maybe 10 seconds. I'm not sure, somewhere around there, if not less. There it is. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. King. Today we are going to be talking about professionalism and how it is a learned thing. I'm a little tired today. I've been up since 4:30. So bear with me, please. And without further ado, let's get started. I have everybody's name in the chat box. Gotcha. I got you, Sister Thompson. I see you. I see you. So we'll go ahead and get started. Let me get everything keyed up for us. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Open sesame. Alrighty. Today, professionalism is a learned. I'm trying to move my box out the way so I can see. As every week, I am Dr. King. It is nice to meet you. Once again, if you can, because I'm seeing my buffering thing come up, turn off, put your phones on mute and your cameras on. Turn them off. Everything's off, so I'm not sure what else is going on, but we'll make it work. So good afternoon. My name is Dr. King. I am going to be your presenter today. I am a resident professional, resident educator for the 800 Link community, of which I've been a resident of for the last 8 years. I am a 34-year resident of Duncanville, Texas. 1990 graduate of Duncanville High School. I am a wonderful wife and mother. Educationally, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Texas of the Permian Basin, a master's degree in organizational management from University of Phoenix, and an education doctorate in sports management from North Central University. I have worked 25 plus years in corporate America in various industries. I have been an online educator in higher ed for roughly almost 12 years now. And I've taught business management, leadership, human resources, and I'm also a 12-year grassroots girls basketball coach for the Lady Panthers Girls Basketball Association. The TI community pillars, we have 5 pillars, and the pillars that my presentation is going to focus on, let me slide my little board thing out the way. The first one is going to be, all my presentations will all have an education topic to them. They're all educationally topic. I'm sorry, the topic will always be education. And then the next pillar will be community building. I'm assuming and hoping that every presentation I do leads to you growing educationally, which then transitions over into you being able to take this information and help become a better community member. Quick data. As I'm starting to do every week with my topics, I go out on Facebook and I post and see how many people are familiar with or something that has to do with my topic. And this week the question was, at any point while working, have you ever received any official in-class or virtual training on professionalism and what it means to act and behave professionally? I had 40 people answer this week. I am so excited. Out of those 40, 55% or 22 said yes, they had, which I was really shocked about. And then 18 or 45% said no, they hadn't. I thought the no was actually going to be a higher percentage. So I'm actually good that, to know that companies are teaching professionalism, hopefully in their employer. But let's find out about the reality of the matter. The reality check of the matter is understand this. In the professional world, people will observe and listen to you first. Then they're going to determine your mental maturity by way of skill and educational attainment. And putting that just really in layman's terms is when you apply for jobs or you go out or you're trying to do anything, get a grant, just anything that just popped in my head, people are going to observe you first. They're going to look at what you have on. They're going to look, unfortunately, they're going to look at your hair. They're going to listen to the way you talk. They're going to do all of that. And then they're going to actually hold a conversation with you. And that's where, determine what your mental maturity is. And then what types of skill and educational attainment you have. That's just the reality of the matter. I say that to say this: do not give them a reason to validate anything that they are thinking about you, because it is probably a stereotype. That's the reality of the matter. And I try, life is too short. I try to be honest with you. So that's the reality check. Know that when you go into the professional world, people are going to look and listen first before they say a word to you to determine anything about, your educational attainment, how smart you are, how mature you are, what type of, tenure and job experience you have. That's just the reality. So that's why we're here today. What is professionalism? So the definition of professionalism, I'm on the left side of the screen, is the standing practice or methods of a professional as distinguished from an amateur. That's dictionary.com's definition. Oxford Dictionary's definition of professionalism is the competence or skills expected of a professional. So the question is now is, what is a professional? So if we move over to the right side of the screen, hey, Sheila, do me a favor and type your name in the chat box so I can get attendance, please, ma'am. The definition of a professional is a person who belongs to one of the professions, especially one of the learnings. So then that leads you to, well, what is a profession? So a profession is a vocation requiring knowledge of some department of learning or science. So if we want to put all that together, we'll go back to the original definition. Professionalism is the standing practice of methods of a professional, which is a person that belongs to a profession, which is a profession is nothing but something learned. A person that works. That's pretty much what it means. Professionalism has to do with the way a person conducts himself or herself in the workplace. Absolutely right. Though it entails how a person conducts themselves, for many, professionalism is a learned thing that must be taught to them. While doing some additional research for this presentation, I kept running up on quotes and things, or people are saying that professionalism can't be taught, and I'm just not in agreement with that. Professionalism is not an innate thing. We don't come out of the womb knowing how to be professional. As with anything, there are some people, and there's a small percentage of people that have that it factor. They call it an it factor, whether you're a professional athlete, a celebrity actor, whatever. It's something that you do best. There are very few people in the world who come out of the womb professional. You have to be taught how to be professional. And there are different facets of professionalism in the first dress code. Professionalism as it relates to dress code. This screen shows you profession. There are different industries where the dress code is truly professional, as what you see on the screen here, or it may be business casual, dress code at all. And that happens, and that's fine. But when we say dress professionally, these are things we're looking at. And just look at the picture out here where both are in the blue suits. When I was in high school, we actually took a class at Duncanville that taught us how to be professional, taught us how to write resumes and all of that sort of stuff. I'm not sure if they do that for all the students or just for those in the business CTE program. However, we were always taught that when you are working, you wear either a blue or black suit. So when I saw that picture, trying to find some pictures of professional dress, this picture here on the left side with both in a blue suit, it kind of made me laugh, because they were like blue or black, blue or black. Those were your only colors to work with, or dark brown. So the idea is to look professional, a suit, a collared shirt. For men, a tie. If you look on the right side of the guys with the tailored suits on, looking absolutely fabulous. You want to look your role. In the professional world, we all have a role. You're dealing with people, whatever your job title is, you want to look that role. So on the guys on the right side, they are in tailored suits. They have the nice shoes on, clean, shine, polished. Things I'm not going to discuss in this presentation, and let me start real quickly with that, and let me stop right quick. We're not going to discuss things like hairstyles. We're not going to discuss things like tattoos, because I don't have the time. We can do another one for that if we need to. But I'm going to talk about what is professionalism with this presentation, as opposed to what is not. By knowing what is, that basically tells you what professionalism is not and what you shouldn't do. Oh, okay. And then the next screen is, I'm sorry. I wasn't finished with that screen. My apologies. Discuss one more thing. She's professional now. I did that because I actually like what she has on. I'm not so sure about the necklaces, but once again, depends on the industry that you're in and, you know, what their specific dress codes are. So, but as far as her professional being ready to work, she's professionally dressed. Like I said, the guys on the right with their tailored suits, you know, they look immaculate, look wonderful. The young lady and the guy on the left side with their blue suits, he has on, they both have on a collared shirt, he has on a tie. You know, this is true professional dress. Next screen, we'll move on to business casual. Business casual, these are like your Fridays. Most companies have Cash Friday, where you can wear jeans, you can wear khakis, you can wear, you know, slacks, anything other than a suit. You don't have to have a suit on or anything like in the slide before. So with the lady on the left, she has on jeans, she has on a collared shirt, she has on a blazer. And we used to have blazers, now they just call them jackets, you know, and then her, whether that's her purse or her new wave or new style briefcase, either or, you know, once again, I'm not discussing hair and all that type of stuff. I'm looking on the left, they're considered business casual. He has, both basically has on, you know, khakis or slacks, you know, clean shoes, socks, polo type shirts. Guy on the right has on a tie, guy on the left just has on a polo shirt. But this is business casual. You're still ready to go to work. Then as we go into the virtual world, we have the virtual dress code. And sometimes this is me. If you look at all the pictures, they all have one thing in common. You can really only see them from roughly mid-chest up. So that's most of the time that you're gonna see, you know, you may on the, you know, the Bermuda shorts, but he has on a jacket and a collared shirt and a tie. So as far as the camera is concerned, he's dressed. The lady and the man and on the right side, same with him. He has on his shorts, but as far as the camera is concerned, he has on a collared shirt and a tie. Mom on the right has on her shorts. We're gonna, you know, the baby is fine. You know, with the virtual world going on, you will see children run back behind cameras. It's just part of life now. But her hair, you know, I mean, her shirt and blouse is really nice. So as far as the camera, she's okay. But now there are some employers coded all, and you will find this more in the tech industry more than anywhere. Some industries, they have call centers, may also have a very lackadaisical in nature dress code. The reason I chose this picture is because this picture, as far as you want to discuss personal or business casual, is everything. The dress code is not on the job. We are with, first thing I see are the shoes. Most jobs, you know, any shoes are not allowed. The lady right here on the left with the open-toed shoes, and most jobs, open-toed shoes are not allowed. They just aren't. When I was growing up, you know, everything was skirt or slacks with stockings and closed-toed shoes. Oh, and you didn't hear me either. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what just happened. My screen disconnected, and I don't know what that happens. Starting to happen every. I don't know what's going on there, but I'll continue where I was with the no dress code. As I was saying, in the tech industry, more often than not, are industries where you have call centers. You will see people without. With no dress code. There will be companies with no dress code just as long as they come to work and look. I was talking about the shoes, but like if you look at the guy with just the t-shirt on and the jeans and the, you know, the tennis shoes, you have this guy over here with a jean jacket on with a shirt and shoes and jeans. I mean, this is your normal, these are people you would see like in a call center, or people that don't deal with customers out in the open or, you know, visually at all. So this would be more of what not to do unless you are in certain industries. And so that's why I use that picture. Let's go on to the different facets of professionalism, of how to act and behave at work. Okay. Professionalism, work expectations. The first thing is to know the company's dress code. Do not let a violation be the first time that you learn it. Trying to assert your individuality is normally where people on the job violate the dress code. And you basically don't do that by understanding and knowing the company's dress code. That means that, when we hire into a company, we are all given that huge, or a book or whatever, the employee handbook that nobody ever will. Just because you do not crack that book open does not mean that you are not responsible for still, abiding by and adhering to the policies that are in that book. And one of those policies is the company's dress code. Know the dress code. And one way to do that is when you come in for your interview, if it's an in-person interview, look at, observe and see how people are dressed. That'll tell you what the dress code is for the company. But don't let yourself trying to assert your individuality. People are, a lot going on now with the Black Lives Matter. Everybody is like, you can't tell me what I can't wear to work. Well, yes, an employer can. As long as they're not violating your civil rights, they can tell you what you can and cannot wear to work. So do not let a violation be the first time that you learn the dress code. Second, understand the organization's culture. Understand what you're at to work there. Once again, if you have to go to an in-person interview, pay attention and look. If you have time, depending on where you have to go to HR, walk, not walk around, but as you're walking to HR, observe around and see, what the feel is for the company. The feel is for wherever you are, whatever building you're in, division or whatever, for the company you're interviewing for or work for. But what is the environment like? To rigid? Is it laid back? Know that. Understand what is acceptable and unacceptable behavior, things you can and cannot do. And every company that factors into the culture of a company. Every company has things that they consider acceptable for employees to do and unacceptable, other than the primary things. There are things that you're just not supposed to do on the job. But as far as other things, there are one example would be the use of cell phones. There are a lot of companies that would not allow their employees to use cell phones, but some that will, as long as you're not, it doesn't factor into you not doing your job description, you doing your job duties. So you have to know what's acceptable and unacceptable. What is the racial and gender climate? How many minorities and women are in positions of leadership? These are things that unfortunately we have to pay attention to now. A company where you don't see very many minorities in leadership positions or women, it pretty much tells you what's going on there. Nobody has to spell that out for you. So pay attention to those things. And if those are things, when you're thinking about hiring into a company, I'm talking about hiring into, but if you work for companies like these, those are things that you need to pay attention to. What's the climate there as far as promotional opportunities for women and people of color. The next thing, show up to work on time. These are things that I always talk to my students about. When first started working, we were always taught you show up 15 minutes before your shift start time and you log in. That's getting you there, going from your car to your desk, getting yourself set up. That gives you 15 minutes. If you're logging in at your shift time, you are late. So 15 minutes before your shift time, that means at the hour or whatever, half hour, whatever time you're supposed to be there, quarter, whatever, you are ready to go at that time and not coming in technically supposed to be on the clock working. And that still applies if you're a salaried employee as well. Keep yourself on the same type of thing. Log in 15 minutes, put yourself on the time schedule as well. Return from lunches and breaks on time. This is so important. I always laugh with the Bernie Mac thing where he say, when people go on break, they break. So that's pretty much true. So, you go to lunch, however long your lunch break is, just make sure that you go on time or control. There are other factors. Somebody may not come back on time and you can't go on time. But when you're in charge of yourself, whatever time you go to lunch, whatever time you go to break, make sure that you return on time. Work well with others and be respectful. Stay out of office drama and leave your drama at home. Period. Self-explanatory, nothing else to say there. Use professional verbiage and not street slang when addressing colleagues. That voice that we have, that when we are at work, when we're on the phone, but we also have that who we are when we're at home around our friends and family. Should be, for the most part, it's kind of the same person, but when you are at work, that home person should never come out on your job. I know you have friends at work. You know, a lot of the times you spend more time with your coworkers than you actually do with your own family. You know, when people are working 5 days a week, you know, 8-9 hours a day, you can still have your friends, but stay professional. If your job entails you talking on the phone, make sure that you also use a professional tone and do not allow the customer's emotions to cause you to step out of your professionalism. I see a lot of videos, you know, on social media where people are making fun, you know, or for some of them, how they respond when they get customers that are angry, not understanding that the customer is angry. They're not necessarily angry with you. You just happen to be the person that answered the phone. When you're like working in a call center or you're dealing in a job where you talk to customers regularly throughout your workday, make sure that you understand that, especially if they left you a voicemail and the anger is coming through the voicemail, prepare yourself for that when you return their phone call. Know that their anger is not directed at you. You are just the representative of the company who they are on the phone with. And you got to learn to separate the two. The first thing you try to do is de-escalate the situation, but stay professional. Now, no matter what they're saying to you, sometimes you have to woo-saw and, you know, take a break, pause. You know, you have to do that, but don't allow them to cause you to step out of who you are to potentially lose your job, you know, dealing with that. You know, you have to work scenarios in your head to understand how to deal with those type of situations. Professional development, we're getting there. If you are a shift worker, log in 15 minutes before your shift starts and prepare for your day. You are told to clock in at an exact time. This goes with the other thing on the slide before. The old adage was, if you log in at your shift start time, you are late. I just discussed this, but I wanted to reiterate it. Understand that your employers will run quantifiable reports and observe qualitative things to determine how well you are doing your job. Puts me in mind of my best friend. You know, when you work at jobs, when they evaluate you, they have to have something measurable to evaluate you on. So when I say quantifiable reports, those things come by the way of how many phone calls you made, how many sales you made, how many emails, you know, what reports, how many reports you know, created and distributed. Those are all quantifiable, measurable things. When I say they observe qualitative things about you, these are, you know, you coming in professionally dressed, speaking with professional verbiage, being happy, being a team player, you know, the soft skills we discussed with the whole professional development presentation last week. The soft skills part of your job is the qualitative part. The quantifiable part, that's the hard skills. That's what I was talking about. Those are things that are measurable by numbers. So, you know, like I said, how many calls you know, did you take for that, you know, your shift? You know, we're able to create, you know, things like that, things that are measurable. That's quantifiable stuff, qualitative stuff, soft skills, your customer service skills, your ability, you know, to talk to customers when they're angry. That's all qualitative. Both of those things are used to evaluate who you are. Once again, when we talk about the cell phone and social media policies, know your employer's cell phone and social media policies. There are some companies that allow, you know, not customers, but employees to utilize those things. And there are some companies that don't. Don't make yourself getting in trouble violating either one of those rules be the first time that you know what those policies are. Just like laws, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Ignorance of company policies in the employee handbook aren't either. Understand the positive and negative ramifications of friending coworkers personally and on social media. This goes back to the whole having two online presences. There's nothing wrong with friending your coworkers, but they know what it is. You know, sometimes coworkers friend you to be snitches. They do. In reality of the matter, reality check. Sometimes they friend you. They just want to know who you are. You know, be careful with that. You know, be careful with your bosses friending you, or you friending your bosses on social media. You open yourself up to them knowing the rest of your life outside of the job. And once again, things that you do off the clock can get you terminated. You represent your employer 24/7, 365. That, once again, like I said, it relates back to online presentation. I'm sorry. I was trying to move the box to make sure I'd hit everything. Next. No. There we go. The different facets of professionalism, work ethic, and emotional intelligence. My mouse is acting crazy over here. Moving my slides. Professionalism as it relates to work ethic. Well, the question is, what is work ethic? So according to dictionary.com, work ethic is defined as a belief in the moral benefit and importance of work. And in layman's term, work ethic is who you are, bottom line, bottom foundation. What is your work ethic? What are you made of? Who are you in the professional world? And if you look to the right, when we start discussing things like work ethic, we talk about attitude, integrity, dedication to your job, being responsible, having principles, being goal-oriented, being diligent, morality, being honest, being disciplined, being fair with your co-workers, having self-respect, excuse me, having self-respect, you know, being motivated, being reliable. Those are our work ethic. And one of the first things when I remember I told you the reality check of people observing you and looking at you and listening to you before they even learn anything about you, kind of goes back to your work ethic. If your work ethic is true and it's who you are, it comes out of your pores, you're not faking it. These are things that people are going to be able to say about who you are as a person professionally. He or she is responsible, they're respectful, you know, they are grounded in morality, you know, they're goal oriented, they have principles, they work hard, they have a good attitude, they're, you know, I'm not to say coachable, I'm a coach, they're able to be coachable. I mean, we look at coachable outside of coaching and we talk about being coached in the professional world. You know, those are all things that when you are honest in who you are, this is a type of work ethic that will come out of you that people will see, and just haven't said a word, they just see it in who you are with your interactions with others. So when we discuss work ethic, we also discuss emotional intelligence, which is something that is new in the last 5 or 6 years. And a lot of it is because of people that deal with the community. And emotional intelligence is defined as the ability to identify and manage one's own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. This goes back to when I was talking about when a customer or client calls in, and just because they're angry doesn't mean that you have to change your tone because they're mad. Don't match that. Stay strong, stay high. You know, emotional intelligence, when you master emotional intelligence, you can, if you're a salesman, you can sell. If you're, you know, just talking with customers, you know, your job is to talk to customers because that's what you do. You have a group or a book of customers you talk to on a regular basis. Understanding and knowing how to control your emotions helps you with them learning how to control theirs when they're on the phone with you or anyone else from your job. And this involves 3 skills. Number 1, emotional awareness, or the ability to identify and name one's own emotions. You have to be able to check yourself, you know, and I'm guilty of it sometimes. You know, you have to be able to know what your stressors are and what they say, things that push your buttons. When you identify what those are, when you know somebody is intentionally trying to push your button, or they may indirectly or unintentionally try to do it, but you know it's happening. So once you know that, you can already have something prepared for that. It's not coming at you. You're not being blindsided. You see it coming, so you know how to handle it. Number 2, the ability to harness those emotions and apply them to tasks like thinking and problem solving. So once you identify what your emotion is, or know what the customer's emotion is, especially if you're somebody like a therapist, you know, a psychologist or something like that, they're able to take those emotions and de-escalate. The whole thing is to not let a conversation escalate, because nothing good comes from that. So you learn, you know, you critically think. When we say thinking, we're not just talking about thinking, we're talking about critically thinking. So you critically think and you're like, what can I do? You look over to the right where it says like it decreases occupational stress, reduces staff turnovers, increases personal well-being. Those are things that you can do and problem solve with emotional intelligence. And those are things that emotional intelligence does. It increases team performance. When you are aware of who you are and aware of your emotions, you become a better team player on the job. It decreases occupational stress. The one thing I can apply that to more than anything right now is the whole situation with school getting ready to start, or for those who have returned to school. The one guaranteed thing that is going to always happen is change. Change, change, change. There is a whole concept of it, change management. change is going to happen. It's how you deal with it. And when you know it's going to happen, you approach it in a different way. So it decreases occupational stress, emotional intelligence does. And it's the same thing with life. It decreases life stress. When you know what's about to happen, you either adapt to it or you're going to lose your mind, like some people are, unfortunately. It makes you a better decision maker. Once again, when you can harness your emotions and keep your emotions in check and know what to do when things happen, it gives you the ability to improve on your decisions. You make better decisions versus flying off the handle and just, doing whatever. That's not a good thing. As far as leadership, emotional intelligence reduces staff turnover because, once again, if we look at the top 3, team performance, occupational stress, and decision making, when it becomes an issue with leading others, because there is a difference between leading and management, we know that you become a better leader, and being a better leader causes you to have less employee turnover. So it all, it's a domino effect. Then increased personal well-being. It just makes you a better person. You're not angry all the time. You're not bitter. You're not degrading your employees and all that, so it kind of, changes who you are on the inside, and it increases your leadership ability. Emotional intelligence causes you to put things out there and you can see who you are. Things make you a better person. If it's not, you're in the wrong industry, you're in the wrong position, and you need to change that before it changes for you by way of you losing your job. 3, the ability to manage emotions, which includes both regulating one's own emotions when necessary and helping others to do the same. You can't help somebody until you help yourself. So the first thing, where it goes back to number 1, identifying your own emotions, you have to be able to identify and know who you are before you can lead and help your employees to know who they are. I took a class on this, and it is excellent because I wanted to know about myself. There are just things I always try to get better. I tell people all the time, I'm not in competition with anybody but the person in the mirror every day. I'm trying to be a better person tomorrow than I am today and who I was yesterday. Moving right along, the different facets of professionalism. See where I am. As far as professional development, going back from last week, professional development also aids one in mastering their professionalism. This mastery is accomplished through the following. Once again, learning and following company rules, taking professional development courses regularly, which means keeping a finger on the pulse of the industry and your employer, as well as staying abreast of industry changes and innovations. Also accepting constructive feedback from your employee evaluations and making that feedback work for you. And so we're going to stop here for just a second, because employee evaluations are, a lot of people a moot point. For some people, it's just an irritable annoyance. Because a lot of manage to fuss and complain. Let's put it mildly. Let's do it the right way. Let me tell you everything you're doing wrong on the job with just a little bit sprinkled in with how you're doing good. And true employee evaluations are going to be regular. Hopefully you're going to have one every quarter if you have a manager or a leader. I say leader that really cares about you, depending on how many employees that are under them that they're leading. But you have regular evaluations. Some of them are not going to be formal. They'll be informal. Just come into your office or your desk and, hey, you're doing a wonderful job. There are some things that we need to work on. This is what I like you doing, but let's work on this so we can move you ahead. There are ways to do employee evaluations where they don't have to turn into gripe sessions. They're supposed to be evals. That's what they are. They're evaluations to tell you where you come from, where you are now, and things that can be done to move your head. That's basically what they're for. And when you have a true leader trying to help you, that's your boss or your boss's boss or whatever, somebody that is sitting back watching you in your professional development, those evals and that feedback on the evals are going to give you information that is going to better yourself. Yes, you're going to know what you're doing that needs to be improved on. I never say what you're doing wrong, because sometimes it's very few people that are doing something wrong. They're not trained correctly. And unfortunately, that's the truth. So when you have been trained correctly and, all of that aside, and you're just doing, what you're supposed to do, your employee evaluations and the feedback on it are supposed to tell you 3 things: where you came from, where you are now, and where you're headed, and the things that you can do to continue to move forward. And you can use that constructive feedback to work in your favor. And then with that being said, seeking out feedback on things that you can be doing better to better yourself in your career. Always find a mentor on your job, or even if you just know someone that works in the industry. They may not work at your particular company, but find a mentor, and namely somebody that's in a position ahead of yours, so they can aid you in moving and promoting, because they've been there. They can tell you things that, you know, and be honest with you. A mentor should be honest with you and tell you where you are and where you're going and things that you need to work on. Maybe you need to get a little bit more education, you know, emotional intelligence. So find you a mentor who's going to be honest with you and help you, you know, and map out professional goals. And we'll get to that next, to help you, you know, continue to move forward. And then take the initiative and do things that allow you to stand out professionally. And this is scary for some people because they don't want to be, just like students in class that don't ever want to have their hands up and ever be called on. There are people in the job that don't ever want to have their hands up and don't ever want to be called on to ask to do anything. Well, they promote, that's not even a word. Stagnates you to be promoted. I'm trying to create a word. Promotionability, that is not a word. But join professional work teams, whether it's a national program or there are teams on your jobs. Most jobs have like a diversity group. They may have, you know, each department may have a group. Find out what they are. Your job has them. Join one of them. Learn, you know, get to know the people on your job. Network. Get to know the people on your job. Join work groups. You know, work groups in companies normally are doing things to make the company better, be it at that particular location or company-wide. So join a work group and get to know people and get your, you know, get who you are out there, get your expertise and your skills and your talents out there. Nobody knows you have them if you don't show them. Join focus groups. There are specific times that companies will create focus groups with employees to get employee opinions on they feel, you know, not necessarily gripes, you know, but you know, all of these types of groups and teams, they're all positive minded. They're not so we can, you know, tell you everything that's going wrong. No, you want to join things that are positive, that are innovative, allows you to be creative mentally. And we move on to professional goal setting. Goals in the professional world should be SMART. And that's one thing I've always taught my students in my business class. There are SMART. And SMART goals are those that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound on the next slide. A specific goal is answering questions as to what do I want to accomplish with what I'm doing. Another one is, why is this goal important? Who is involved in helping me accomplish this goal? Where is the goal located? You know, once I'm finished, where is it located? Or where do I have to go to complete this goal? And what resources or limits are involved to me creating this goal? Those are different questions to make, you know, to get you started. To don't just say, I want to go to college. Well, what do you want to go to college to major in? What college do you want to go to? What specific degree plan are you looking at? How long is it going to take to complete it? What classes are you going to have to take? That's what I'm saying. Don't just say, I want to go to college. You know, get specific in what you want to go to college and major in. It must be measurable. That's the second thing. How will I know that I've accomplished this goal? You want to go to college? How long is it going to take you to complete it? How many classes are you going to take? How many credits is it going to be? So those are measurable things. You know, you start from zero. Your course degree program may be 120 credit hours. How many classes is that? You know, those are measurable, quantifiable things that have numbers to them. Excuse me, goals must be achievable. How realistic is this goal based on your life constraints? That's only nobody can answer but you. So make sure that whatever goal you achieve is, a professional goal that you set is actually achievable. All of them about professional goals, knowing the culture of a company. Especially if you want to stay employed with their company, or you're not, you know, there are people that just use positions to move up and move up. But if you find a company that you're really happy with and you think that you want to retire there, then your professional goals are in line with knowing the culture of the company. Is it realistic that being a woman of color and being a woman of color, I'm about to say being a woman and being a person of color, but being a woman of color, how realistic is it that I'll promote to being in the executive ranks? You know, how realistic is it that I'll promote into being a department manager? Those are things that if you understand the pulse of the company that you work for, you'll understand how realistic that is. And you'll know whether or not, you know, whether it's unrealistic. So, you know, having a pulse on what's going on and understanding the culture of the company that you work for, you will know whether your goals are attainable there, or maybe you have to go somewhere else, unfortunately, or fortunately. Next thing is your goals must be relevant. Does this seem worthwhile to me? Are you just doing it just because you're trying to do something? It's the next thing on your to-do list. Make whatever you do relevant to your life. Life is short as it is long. Make everything that you do a calculated step. Is this the right time to do it? Only you know that. When you're working on a goal, sometimes you just, like with me, I take a list of paper and I just write my goals out. And then sometimes I have to sit there and move my goals around, because at that particular time, it may not be feasible for me to work on one goal, but I can work on another. So I'll move things around, you know, and stuff like that. So make sure that whatever you're working on is the right time for it. Does this match your other efforts and needs? Is this goal in line with something you're already doing, or did this goal come completely out of things doing with the professional development? You're branching out, learning new things. So you may find, you know, a new goal that does not fit and, you know, is not in line with your current goals, but it may still be something you want to do, and that's fine. Am I the right person to reach this goal? Only you can answer that as well. To me, I believe I can do anything I put my mind to it. I've been pretty successful so far. And then I've had some, you know, I'm going to do this, or it's not going to be done right now. It's never, I'm not going to do this, or I can't do this. It's either I'm getting it done now, or it's going to get done down the line, but it will get done. So am I the right person to reach this goal? That answer should always be yes, if you're being realistic with yourself. Is it applicable in the current socioeconomic environment? That's supposed to say environment. I apologize. I cut the end of that off. Once again, that's only something you can answer. You know, what are your financials like? What is the economy like? Is this goal feasible to try to attain right now with things as they are? You know, COVID has stopped a lot of people's, you know, dreams and goals. Some people have lost their livelihoods, have lost their jobs, have lost their businesses because their, you know, goals with COVID and things being shut down and things change. It's not so much that they didn't adapt. We didn't see this coming. Nobody saw this coming. So, you know, you have to not cancel that goal out, but sometimes you have to, other goals will take precedent, you know, because of what's going on with the times. Goals, once again, like I said, the T in SMART is time bound. All your goals are achievable and attainable unless they have a time frame set to completion. So the first question is when? How long is it going to take me to do this, and when am I going to be done? Second, what can I do 6 months from now with this goal, or 3 months, you know, or a week from now, whatever time frame you initially set to achieve that goal? What can I do halfway through? When I say six months or 6 weeks, if it's 6 months, that's a 12-month goal. If it's 6 weeks, that's a 12-week goal. I always kind of stick a halfway point in there. So how long, when am I going to be finished with this? What can I do halfway through it? What can I do a quarter of a way through it? What can I do today, right now, as far as achieving this goal? Your goals are not realistic if they do not have completion dates. And when I say a completion date, I started college when I worked on my doctorate. My completion dates were December 26, 2015. I finished on October 12, 2018. Your goals have to be that specific, because when you apply specificity to something, you mean it. Therefore, you're actually going to pay some attention to it. If you just write it down and you don't take the steps to add the SMART to it, be specific, be measurable. Went the wrong way. Go back. Be specific, be measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. If you don't apply that to your goals, that goal is just a pipe dream. So make sure that you, once again, calculated steps. Don't just go through life, go through life with calculated steps. And so to the summary, we have about 18 and a half minutes left. We're actually doing good today. Professionalism is the standing practice or methods of a professional as distinguished from an amateur, and the company's competencies and skills expected of a professional. If anybody has any questions on anything, go ahead and throw those in. Hey, AP George, thanks for coming. If you have questions, go ahead and type them in while I'm talking. Professionalism is something that most have to learn to display the right way. And once again, go back to the reality check. See you first, hear you second. Professionalism is displayed both physically by way of our dress code and behaviors, as well as mentally by the actions and behaviors displaying one's work ethic and emotional intelligence. We can look in people and tell, and we can look in people and tell not. Professionalism is enhanced through professional development. Always, 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 I can't stress this enough. Always professionally develop. If you do nothing else, take 1 or 2 classes a year. And I'm talking about not your boss is coming to you telling you to do this, because that's like going to school. Do this yourself. Do this for yourself. If somebody has to tell you to do it, it doesn't mean anything to you. Take the initiative of yourself to do these things. Mastering professionalism requires goals. Once again, we just discussed that. If your goals do not have the SMART acronym applied to it, they're just pipe dreams. These are just things that you want to do whenever, be smart about it. Daily mastery of professionalism occurs through learning your employer's organizational culture, learning and following the company rules, accepting constructive feedback, seeking out a mentor to aid in accomplishing professional goals, as well as taking the initiative to do things that allow you to stand out professionally, as in working on teams, work groups, and focus groups, etc. All of this, once again, with the whole last week's presentation on professionalism, the week before with having 2 presences, 2 online presences, all of this is all professionalism. Professionalism is not innate. I don't care what anybody says. There are very few who come out of the womb that understand this. And they're just a different type of person. And you can, once again, you will see it come out of their pores. For everybody else, bell curve. Those that can, those that can't, everybody in the middle roughly had to learn it. It's a taught thing. And high schools used to teach it to everybody. There was a class. You took typing class. You learned how to answer the phone. You learned how to professionally dress. We were told what type of hairstyles we had to wear, what we couldn't wear. Everybody doesn't do that anymore. And don't know why, but professionalism is something that is a learned thing. You have to learn to be taught. And I said I wasn't going to talk about what wasn't professional, but I go into the store and I see things and I see kids, with the sagging pants and all of that. That stuff is not professional. Nobody has taught them. And just because a person has worked for a company for years, I always ask when I listen to my friends with kids that are just starting to work, and they do stuff on the job, train them. Because 10 years, but if you were not trained correctly, you're not going to train anybody that comes behind you correctly. So you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of somebody else. And professionalism, knowing how to talk to people, that's emotional intelligence, knowing how to talk on the phone, knowing how not to be taken out of your professional tone and professionalism because somebody else is angry. We're human. We're not going to always be perfect on the job. Somebody will sometimes say stuff that we have to say, wait a minute now. But once again, we have to learn how to take a break. And I'm guilty of this just like anybody else. All of this is helping me just like I'm trying to help y'all. I've learned how to step back and before my mouth flies off, because she can get real fly. So I have to, I'm working on my emotional intelligence. I'm always working on professional development. What I tell y'all last week, my curriculum vitae is 35 pages long. I am so serious. So always work on yourself. Did anybody have any questions while I'm just sitting here chatting with you? I don't see any questions. I had everybody's attendance. I'll redo it because when it disconnected that chat, so it basically started over. But does anybody have any questions for me on anything professionally related? Like I said, I didn't want to discuss what wasn't professional because I would run over in my time. So I discussed what is professional. When you know what is professional, you'll know what's not. It pretty much goes hand in hand. And you can take this information, use it with your kids. Let them watch this, because that's one thing that we don't see a lot of is kids behaving professionally on the job, and that's because they haven't been taught, unfortunately. Next week, my presentation will be back on Wednesday. Next week's presentation is the only one that's on Wednesday for the rest of the month. I said last week that I had changed everything to Thursday at 7 because they changed the start date on school. I pushed everything back to noon. But next week's presentation on the best communication methods for the messages that you want to convey will be on Wednesday at noon. But then the following week and the week after, the next two presentations after that will be on Thursday at noon. And then in September, my presentations all go to Thursday at 7 p.m. So I'm trying to get it to where you guys, you know, everybody's pretty much going to work. I have a lot of education to watch this. So I'm moving it tonight to the nighttime so I'll be able to address you. And I'm not sitting here just talking to myself, acting like I'm talking to 1,000 people. This presentation will be at noon on next Wednesday, the 12th. And I'll send everybody an invitation, post it to Facebook, post it to LinkedIn, what I've been doing, email it to my mom, you know, all that stuff, my daughter. But then the following weeks, it'll be Thursday and at 12, and then the week after Thursday at 12. And contact information, once again, if y'all have any topics for me. If y'all don't know, if anybody hasn't read it on Facebook or not on Facebook, I had asked, we're getting ready to do here in the complex. Everybody is doing all of the TI communities, which is who I work for. All of the complexes are getting ready to do a back to school type rally thing for the kids in the complex. We'll be doing one here. And I'll be working with Officer Doug Sisk, who works for the Duncanville Police Department. He also is one of the police officers that works here in my complex. And we're gonna be working together trying to get some information out there. And I asked for specific questions that patients as well. So if you could, you can, if you're on Facebook and you've already given to me, thank you. If not, email me at 800educatorbridget@ticommunities.com. Gotcha, Sister Thompson, I got a question. How should one dress for an interview if you do not know the culture or dress code of a company? You should always dress professionally. You should assume that if you do not know the dress code for the company, that you dress professionally. That's bottom line. Slide. Wear a nice suit or a nice skirt, long sleeve shirt, or a collared shirt. Or a short sleeve collared shirt. Always collared shirt unless you understand, know the thing. But if you're just going to an interview, you have no clue what the dress code is, dress professional. Guys, suits, ladies, or pantsuit, nice shirt. Once again, I'm not discussing hair and all that type of stuff. Just make yourself presentable, clean. If you won't wear makeup, closed-toed shoes, stockings, things like that. Dress professionally. Do not go in business casual. I don't care what the people there are doing. You are trying to get a job. So for your interview, you go straight, bottom line, strict professional dress. Any other questions? I have about 9.5 minutes, a little under. Does anybody else have any questions for me? Let me see if I can. Nope. I've been sitting here thinking. So let me finish what I was saying before the question was asked. If y'all have, yes, Afi, I did, but we will go back to that. Let me pull up that slide. You're good. Better showing up late than never. Let's see, was it this first one? Yes, down here at the bottom where I said use professional verbiage and not street slang during interviews. And this during interviews or just on the job, period. It all goes hand in hand with, having friends for coworkers and all that stuff. You have to know what you can and cannot say on the job. You can't talk to your work coworkers like you do your friends. Stay professional at all times. You don't want anything to come back and hurt you. Don't yeah. And none of that. Stay as professional as you can. And once again, part of your professional development should always be developing your vocabulary. Always, I use dictionary.com. There's dictionary.com app. That is true. If you give me just a second and I'll address that. go on, download the dictionary.com app and get the one word a day that you can learn that helps you with developing your professionalism and your vocabulary. Afy made the statement, what about assuming that because someone is Black, you can say, what's up, bro, to them? No. Don't assume that just because somebody is Black, that you can, hey, girl, how y'all doing? No, that's offensive. But we understand what's going on, but when you're at work, you're at work. Keep those separate. So just because you see her, hey, she Black, I can say this. No, you approach her just like you would anyone else. You approach him just like you would anyone else. How you doing? Good afternoon. If they have a name tag on, but don't just, hey, girl, what's up, bro? Black Lives Matter. No, don't do that. If y'all know each other, wait till you're off the clock, happy hour or whatever. But if you walk into a person's place of business, whether you know them or not, stay professional with them at all times, because you're trying to, once again, it goes back to the reality check. You don't want anybody to assume anything about you as far as a stereotype that they may already be applying in their head about you. Stay professional, stay high, as Michelle Obama says, and just do that. I'm running out of time, y'all. I have 6 minutes. This has been a good presentation today. I am excited. And even with our kids, we need to make sure our kids understand that too, because I see a lot, like when you go to the restaurants, and they yell, no, I don't know. We need to teach our kids to understand that those types of terms are not appropriate on the job, even if these are people that come in and you know them, you go to school with them, your teachers or principals or neighbors. All we need to teach our kids that when they're on the job, they need to be professional as well. We can't always leave, just like we can't always leave teaching up to teachers at the school. As parents, there's a responsibility that we have to teach our kids at home. But when it comes to professionalism and trying to make our kids understand what is and is not acceptable, I didn't see the second question. Oh, okay, I see it now. Let me address that question. But teach your kids at home. Sister Thompson said, what if you get in traffic and know you will be late? Do you go to the interview anyway? I would say call them and let them know, because if you're in traffic and you left on time, some things are out of your control. If you call them and let them know, I am on my way, but this is what's happened, what do you advise I do? Sometimes they may reschedule depending on how far out you are, how far it's going to take you to get there. And then sometimes, if you know that you can be there like within 10 minutes, they may give you that time because they're human just like you are. And they understand that things happen. So if you know that you're going to be late to an interview, don't just not show up, and don't just show up and not call. Give the interview person a call, the hiring whoever called and set the interview up with you. Give them a call and let them know what's going on. Even if your car breaks down, don't just not show up. Don't just show up late assuming they're still going to interview you. Give them a call and let them know this is what's going on, how far out you are time-wise, and let them know, should I still come, or can we reschedule this? And they'll be honest with you and let you know, because things happen, people are human. So that is a good question. But yes, we need to be responsible as parents, especially when our teenagers will start teaching them how to talk on the job and how to interact with people, how to dress, be clean. A lot of times, you go to restaurants and kids reek of marijuana. I'm like, how do you smoke and then clock in? There are just things that these kids are just not being taught, because it's not taught to the level that it was when we were coming up. So it's now time for us as parents of children that know when we were taught that, to pass that torch on to our kids and even our kids' friends. So I have 4 minutes and actually exactly 4 minutes left. Do we have another question before I wrap this up? Next week, I'm going to have another survey on for you guys. Keep a lookout for it. I try to get 40. I can run 40. I'm not trying to get 40, the maximum paying to do a survey when I can do one for free. So I have a survey out for next week. Next thing is on that you're trying, that you want to get out. There is a way to do and say everything, and sometimes get lost because it wasn't in the appropriate manner, in the appropriate method, and then sometimes the tone of it. So we're going to discuss next week What if the person, good question, what if the person is conducting the interview talk slang to you? I got 3 minutes to answer this. Just because they talk slang to you does not mean that you have to respond. Do not respond. It's like on the phone, you know, if they're getting mad at you, you stay professional. If they're starting to use, you know, unprofessional slang, you know, an unprofessional language, that has nothing to do with you. You stay professional, because sometimes they may be doing it as a setup to see what you would do and how you will respond. So always be professional, always dress professional. And that way they can't, once again, the stereotype, there's nothing that they can validate in their mind about you that they're thinking. If you stay high, you stay professional in look and language. All right, y'all, I got to wrap this up, because if I don't, it is going to cut off, because it is designed to cut off at the hour on the hour. I am glad that y'all gave me some great questions today. Have some more for next week. Messages. Think of some questions. But I will see you guys next week. I appreciate everything. Thank you, everybody, once again, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions for me, let me know. If you have any questions that you have for me or want to send me that I can do for our night out for the school, you know, school reopening here for the kids, that as a parent, you may think that everybody else has that question. Post it to my post on Facebook, or send me an email, or text me, whatever. Y'all have all my numbers and everything. So keep those coming. I appreciate you guys. Love you. See you next Wednesday at noon. See you later. Bye.